Hey family, in today's video, I want to address a topic that I'm asked about very, very often, and that is what software does one need for tax representation, or it can be referred to as tax resolution as well. My first thoughts on that question are need is subjective. You honestly don't need software to be able to help taxpayers with their IRS issues. However, there are resolution softwares out there that will help you to be more efficient in your practice as you continue to grow and you're managing many clients at one time. With that being said, the focus of this video is going to be on the software that I personally use in my practice, Bowens Tax Solutions. All right, so before we get into it, in case you're new here, my name is Timberland Bowens and I am America's favorite EA. And as I mentioned, I'm also the owner of Bowens Tax Solutions, which is a virtual firm based in Louisville, Kentucky, and we focus on helping taxpayers resolve their IRS issues. Now, you may be thinking, with me having my own firm, why am I doing a video like this? The reason for it is when I first started my journey as an enrolled agent and I became interested in representing taxpayers before the IRS, I searched high, I searched low, and I couldn't find content like this right here. So, on this channel, you will find videos just like this one to help you along in your journey of representing taxpayers before the IRS, whether that is looking for different softwares or learning the different steps that are required and best practices to protect the taxpayer. Okay, so again, I don't think that you need tax software, especially if you're just starting out. I actually believe that having tax software before you fully understand what you are doing can even handicap you. But if you're going to choose a software, let me give you the layout of the tax representation software that I prefer in my own office. At Bowens Tax Solutions, we use Pitbull software. Now, I've had it where it was white labeled and I had all the bells and whistles because when I was first introduced to the software through Roz Strategies with Michael Rosbrook, I attended a summit and I got a deal. So I had all the bells and whistles. So I know how all of the features work. Okay. With the exception of some, because since that time they've added Zoom integration and all that type of stuff. But I'm going to tell you what I like for people who are just starting out and what was most impactful for me. Okay. Now, for me, I believe we hold a big responsibility to protect the taxpayer data. So, one of the things that I really like about the Pitbull software is their security. They have the two-factor authentication and they also have a secure encrypted portal. Now, getting the clients to actually use the portal, that's another thing, right? But with this portal, I can communicate securely with the taxpayers. Once I pull their transcripts, I can share the transcripts with them. If they receive notices before the IRS has processed my power of attorney, they can upload those there, and we know that they are safe. Okay. Now, when you have everything in email, you run the risk of being hacked, which you always run the risk of being hacked on the internet, right? But there's this extra layer of protection to help you to keep your client's information safe. To me, that is very important in my firm. And it's one of the first things that I look at when I'm looking at different softwares to use to serve my clients. Okay. Another thing that I like about Pitbull that would kind of fall under this, and it'll fall under one of the other things in a little bit, is that They help you to stay in compliance with the IRS, not only with the security, but they also have a template for Form 7216, which is the consent of use form. Pitbull is a third party software. When you use a third party software or company like offshoring or a contractor, you are supposed to disclose that to the client that you are working with. Pitbull already has a template of the 7216 to help you disclose to the taxpayer that you are going to be using Pitbull to pull their private information, which is their tax transcripts, and using that to evaluate their situation to see what you can get them to qualify for in terms of penalty abatement, um, or maybe it'll be an offer and compromise, installment agreement, whatever it may be. It already is like, hey, you're going to be using us as a third party to collect this taxpayer's data and to store it. You need to disclose that to the client. So, again, along with the security, I love that it has that feature in there to help make sure that you stay in compliance. The next thing, if you're new to the tax representation world, Pitbull already has a sample workflow within the software. So when you add a new client and you put all the data in, it's going to prompt you to the next step, what you should be looking to do. If you're somebody that's brand new to this world and you're not in a community and you don't have mentors yet, this is very helpful because a lot of the time when I'm working with new enrolled agents or people who are studying for the exam, they'll get the case and then they'll be like, what's next? Pitbull kind of outlines that for you. Now, for me personally, within Bowens Tax Solutions, I don't follow the exact same workflow that they have. I've tweaked it a little bit. If you're interested in checking that out, I do actually have a article that I wrote about the tax representation workflow. I will make sure that it is linked down below so you can check that out. Okay. Now, the next thing is they have different templates for you. So, for example, like I said, with the 7216, they already have the information that you need to stay in compliance with the IRS, and you can plug your information in, the client's information, and how long you need to be able to have access to their information through the third party software. That's not the only template they have. They also have email templates for when you have to send an email to communicate with a client. They also have a template so that if you are sending a 2848 for the client to sign, there's a template for how you would like them to return that to you. There's a template for if you just want them to review it and ask questions, and it'll automatically password protect that document. I love that. But in addition to it, especially just starting out, you may not know like what needs to be in my engagement letter, what needs to be in this proposal, what needs to be like a sample response for my form 843 for this penalty abatement. Within Pitbull, they give you templates for your engagement letters. There are templates and suggested things for your things like for penalty abatement. Another thing that they've done, which I believe is a good use of AI, you can now use AI within Pitbull to help you with those responses and to help you with your reasonable cause penalty abatement. So you have access to all of that right there within the software. So you're not flip flopping in between different softwares trying to find the answer. And they even have where you can search the Internal Revenue Manual while you're yet in the software, which if you're new to this world, is very, very, very important. I often tell my fellow tax professionals when you're learning new tax law, whoever is teaching you, you want them to also share with you the Internal Revenue Code so that you can go in there and study it for yourself. Well, the Internal Revenue Manual is just as important because it's how the IRS employee on the other end of that phone is going to be interpreting the Internal Revenue Code. So if you have an understanding of how they are interpreting it, that helps you to better prepare before you get on the phone. Okay, so Pitbull has given you the ability to search that right within the software now. So you don't have to have too many tabs up, right? The next thing, and I feel like this should be a given, but I found that it's not with all softwares that say that they are tax resolution softwares, is that Pitbull has the different tax forms that you need integrated within the software. So let me give you an example. If you're going to be representing a taxpayer as an enrolled agent, CPA, tax attorney, you have to have a Form 2848 tax matters representative on file with the IRS, right? The CAF unit has to have processed that. With that being said, once you put the information in Pitbull for the client, it can pull from the data that you entered about the client and fill out part of the Form 2848 for you. So that's a big time saver as well, which I mean, it may not take you that long to fill it out, but it's nice that you don't have to double up on the work, that you already have the majority of it filled out right there within Pitbull when you select that form. It will also do the same thing with the 433F, with the 433A, and that's the 433A OIC, or the one for the installment agreement. It will also do it for the 656 for an offer and compromise, and for the Form 843 for penalty abatement. Now, I will say this, technology is great until it's not. Pitbull isn't perfect. So, again, you do need to check the work when these forms are filled out that are integrated within the system. But, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that's another reason why you may want to take into consideration holding off on purchasing software until you actually know what you're doing within this space. Until you get a few cases under your belt and you're comfortable with understanding where certain things should flow. Otherwise, you may not know what to check and where to check to see if you filled the forms out correctly. Now, you have to make the best choice for you. And even with that, I would strongly suggest that you join a community or mentorship just so you have people to feed off of and so that you can get a second set of eyes on the work that you're doing, right? So, after the tax forms, again, I feel this should be a given. Everybody's software that's claiming to be tax resolution software doesn't do this. There is an API to connect this to the IRS site for transcript pulling. Now, why is this important? I can go right within Pitbull, sign in, choose to pull transcripts, and it will take me to the IRS website to connect. Then, after I do that, I can go back to the software, select the clients whose transcripts I want to pull, select the different transcripts that I want to pull and the specific years, and I can pull them right within the software. Now, when this happens, the transcripts will pull and upload into the software. If you're not familiar, if you are pulling these directly on the IRS website and you have them delivered to your SOR, that is fine. But what happens is when you open it, then it disappears. When you do it in Pitbull, it stays within the software, so you have that copy forever unless you delete it. Another really cool function of Pitbull is once you pull those transcripts, it will also create a transcript report. It's looking for things like first time abatement eligibility, penalty abatement eligibility at all. It's breaking things down into how much interest is owed, how much is owed in different penalties. It's also going to show you if a lien was issued for that tax year or not, if an intent to levy has been filed. All of those things are items that you want to make the client aware of ASAP, and that report pulls all the information from the transcripts so that you can relay that to the client so you know what to prioritize in the case. Okay. Now, again, before it was trendy, this is still what I would say AI that's being used to search all of this and put it together. Technology is great till it's not. This is not a perfect software. No software is. So, again, you're going to still want to look at the transcripts to make sure that the information that you received in the report is correct before presenting that to the client and going over it with them. Okay. Now, the next thing, which I think is super beneficial for those of you who may just be starting and you're kind of struggling with pricing, the software does have a fee calculator. Now, it has suggested fees if you're not actually sure like what your pricing should be. For me, it's nice to have the idea of what it thinks, and I used it a little bit when I first started out, or at least first started out using Pitbull. But there were some areas, such as with the transcript investigation, where I charge more than the suggestion. And then there were some areas with certain types of arrangements and agreements where I actually charged less than what the suggested fees were. I always recommend that first you want to make sure that you have all of your fixed costs covered and then figure out how much is your time actually worth and figure out if you were doing hourly billing, what would you want to bill at an hour? That will help you determine what your value pricing should be. But if you're still kind of playing with that, I think the fee calculator is an amazing tool to have for somebody who's just starting out in this space. Okay. Sometimes you may not know what information to ask the taxpayer. In that situation, this is another really good resource that's right within Pitbull, and it is the questionnaire. Now, they have a separate questionnaire for individual clients and a separate one for business clients, which I think is amazing. Now, when I say a business, I'm talking about like your S Corp, corporation, partnership, nonprofit, right? Because those questions are going to be a little bit different than they would for a sole proprietor. But nevertheless, it leaves no leaf unturned. Okay. If your client is wanting to do a partial pay installment agreement, they're wanting to do an offer and compromise, a tiered agreement, anything that's going to take this out to where the IRS isn't being paid in full within the next 72 months, they are going to want additional information. You are going to want to know the Form 433A, 656 inside and out, but there may be some things that you forget. With the questionnaire, you can be sure to get all the information you need in a questionnaire interview or questionnaire interview with a client interview that you have with the client, whether it's you and them and you're filling it out. If you have an admin that you have, give them a call and they're filling it out, or if you send it to the client themselves. It'll make sure that you don't miss things like the VIN number for their car or how much they have in their 401k. All pertinent information when you are going into a payment arrangement where the IRS isn't going to get paid in full. Okay. So, again, going back to the tax forms, if the questionnaire is filled out completely, you can actually, through Pitbull, take the answers from the questionnaire and have it go right over into the form, which again helps you to be more efficient, but you still have to be able to understand how to do it correctly yourself to make the best use of it. Okay. Now, last but not least, in my opinion, one of the best things that it has available for new people is the resolution valuation. I keep saying this, so you probably already know what I'm going to say. You still want to make sure that you understand what the client would qualify for without the software. Do not use this as a crutch, because if you use this as a crutch and you don't actually understand what the client qualifies for without you putting in the work and you being able to see, okay, is this currently not collectible? Is this a streamlined agreement? Is this something that's going to qualify for an offer and compromise? And understanding why, you may end up being one of those EAs, CPAs, or tax attorneys that does get replaced by AI, because AI can do that. It can throw some things together and put together a pretty story, but you have to understand why it's doing what it's doing and see if there's anything that can be adjusted to better help your client. Okay. Now, there are more features that Pitbull has. Like I mentioned earlier, now they have scheduling and Zoom integration. They have where you can accept payments through Pitbull now. They have where you can white label, so it doesn't say Pitbull Tax Software. It can say your firm name and have your logo and all that. If you choose to do that, I think those are great features. I just don't have the white labeling and I don't accept payments through Pitbull and all of that. Another thing that Pitbull has is different tiers of pricing. If you just want to check this out and you want to have a one-time user license, I believe that starts at $225. If you're like, hey, I want to check this out, see if I actually like it, you can invest the $225 and see if it works for you. Now that $225 is going to be one of the more basic plans, but you could also schedule a demo. They'd be more than happy to show you the layout of the software and explain the different levels and what comes with them. Now, Pitbull does have monthly pricing and they do have annual pricing. They have pricing for a single user license, and then they have pricing for multiple user license. And each one of them will allow you to add on different things. So, as I mentioned before, I no longer have the white labeling, and that's okay. I took that off, so my price is reduced. There are things that I would recommend. If you have the single use license, you will have access to the different forms, to the workflow, to the templates, all of those things. And I believe, actually, let me just look because I thought I had it up. If you decide to do that monthly, you'll be looking at $135 a month. But I highly suggest that you also include the transcript delivery and reporting. That way you can pull the transcripts right within the software. You can create the reports right within the software. You can share that information right within the portal with your client. That is an additional $44 a month per user. So that would take you roughly to what, $179. Now, you save 30% if you purchase it annually. And in addition to that, if you decide to use my promo code, which I have here, there's no rhyme or reason for this code. I should have asked them, like, hey, can I get America's Favorite EA or AF EA? But I didn't. If you use the promo code, you can receive a discount. I believe it's a 10% discount on your purchase of Pitbull. And in addition to that, here's a disclaimer. They will actually give me an affiliate commission as well. Now, if you found this video insightful, if you have questions about Pitbull and how I use it in my firm, feel free to drop those down below in the comments. If you don't want to use the promo code, down in the description, I will also include an affiliate link that you can just click right on. But again, don't just take my word for it. Schedule a demo with them or try the single use license to see if you actually like it, because this shoe isn't going to fit on everybody's foot, right? This is what I like, what I prefer, and what I recommend. But again, no software out there is going to be perfect, but there are certain things that I would say absolutely not to. And there are certain things where I would say, yeah, that's perfect. You have to try it and see which ones you like best for yourself, which one has the best interface, which one you're most comfortable with, and it's not going to be a hindrance instead of something to make you more efficient, right? So I hope you found that helpful. I will see you guys in the next video. And again, let me know if you have any questions about Pitbull down below in the comments.